Good morning, I'm Lori Cummings and I'm the owner of Stone Cottage Farm and Garden, and today we're going to be cooking with kale, and the recipe I'm going to show you is a basic potato soup with kale. And kale is one of those superfoods you've been hearing a lot about, and it's very high in vitamin A and vitamin K and vitamin C. It's a very good cancer preventive, and on top of that it's very easy to grow in the garden. I've had some kale in my garden that is now 3 years old, and it makes it through the winter with some protection. So to get started, I've made a basic potato soup, and these are the ingredients that I've used for the soup. Of course, we have potatoes. These are all organic vegetables, carrots, and in my soup I use 3 potatoes, I use 2 carrots. I actually use the center of the celery, which is the part that I really like, where the leaves are in the tender part of the celery. I use about this much cauliflower as a potato substitute, so if you want to reduce the potatoes you can add more cauliflower. Of course, kale was put in toward the end, onion, this is a pink salt, a chicken broth, and you can use your own broth if you have chickens, as I do, salt and pepper, and half and half. And it's been cooking for a little while, and I've got all the ingredients in here except for the kale and the half and half and the butter. So it's just about soft. Potatoes are soft. I know it's time to add the kale. You don't want to add the kale too soon because it'll get too soft. So what we're going to do is just cut up the kale, and I'm going to first cut off the stems. You can chop that up if you want and put it in the soup. You can give it to the chickens, which is what I like to do. And then we're just going to roll this up, cut off a little more stem. If you have kale that the stem is too thick, you can slice along the edges there and just remove that. We can just chop finely. Kind of scrunch it up as you go. And you can stir that in. And that kale will wilt pretty quickly. Kale is something that is best eaten when it's cooked, but to eat it raw is a little bit hard to digest and not quite as tasty. It's also a little bit more tasty after the first frost. It gets a little bit more sweetness to it. Then what I'm going to do next is, this is a pie dough cutter. You can use anything you can squash up a few potatoes with, and I just gently push down on some of the potatoes to break them up a little bit. Just adds a little thickness. And you don't want mashed potatoes in here. You just want chunks of potatoes. So we're just going to do it like that. That's all there is to that. The next thing we're going to do is add the butter. I'm just going to put about 1/3 of a stick of butter in here. Put the butter in before the cream so the butter can melt a little bit, because the cream will cool it off. The other thing that's very interesting and good about kale is that it is a complete protein, so it has all the essential amino acids that the body needs, which is really hard to get in a vegetable, let alone any single food, so it's really, really good for you. And then we'll add just enough half and half to get it the color you want. This is kind of a judgment call on this one. When I put the potatoes and the vegetables in here and the broth, I just put enough water in there to cover the potatoes. You don't want too much because then your soup gets way too watery. So that looks about perfect. And you are ready to dish yourself up some potato soup with kale. A little cracked pepper, and there you are. A good winter soup for a cold winter day.